Emulate the taste of like non-chicken nuggets. So these nuggets are made from chicken, but they're made to emulate the taste of non-chicken nuggets. Dope.
Oh, that's much better.
Edit all the blather out of your videos because my time is very precious.
Oh, that's fire.
Make it less teal and more
cerulean? Sure.
Replace your background with something more fun? The cold void of outer space.
Let's boost that sound quality. Emulate the taste of non-chicken nuggets. Emulate the taste of non-chicken nuggets. Dope.
It needs more style. It needs more clips, more GIFs, more.
Well, I might have made it too gnarly.
Hello everyone. Welcome to our webinar today where we are going to talk all about social clips, how we can create them quickly, and also how do we get them out globally quickly too. We have Aaron here, who I'm sure a lot of you guys have seen before, who is our amazing social, there he is, our social media manager. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Fiona, how are you?
Good, can't complain. Spring is out here, the sun is shining, so yeah. So before we jump in, we'd love to hear what everyone is coming from. I'm seeing a lot of folks coming in from all over, from LA, Portland. Would also love to hear what you guys are doing with social clips right now. Are you guys doing videos, or like where are you guys pulling social clips from? And what are you hoping to get out of today? And as folks are answering that, Aaron, I had a question for you. What has been the most tedious thing about that you have come across with creating social clips?
Great question. I'll answer it in two ways. If you're working with a team, tell us in the chat. I think the hardest thing is communication. So there's usually somebody approving, giving feedback. Maybe the person editing the clips is not the one scheduling and posting them. And that's a tough one. Sometimes that takes as much time and waiting around as creating the clips themselves. If you're doing it all on your own, I think the biggest one is just knowing what makes a good clip. What am I looking for? Say I have an hour-long webinar or an hour-long podcast. What's going to make a good clip, and where's it going to go? You know, is that for Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube Shorts, a landing page, web asset? Like just knowing what the secret sauce, the ingredients of a good clip are.
Yeah, totally. I feel like those are two very important parts of the full workflow, from like getting it out there, but also like beginning before you actually get the clips. Like, how do you think about creating these clips too for all the different platforms? So I think we're going to be able to show you guys all of that, what our process is. Well, actually what Aaron's process is. So yeah, I'm seeing folks talk a lot about creating clips from an hour-long interview, even launching their YouTube channel. Yeah, creating shorts from long videos, and yeah, creating lots of shorts from different long-form video contacts or video formats. So cool, we'll jump right in. Cool. So just some webinar housekeeping items. So this is going to be recorded. So if you need to hop off early, you can always hop onto our YouTube and watch the replay. If you registered for this event, you'll also receive a link. If you have any questions, we have Trevor, our amazing support team lead, in the chat that's going to be answering any questions and surfacing any questions to us throughout the webinar during our demo too, so we can share that with you all. And if you need further help, there's always our help center, help.descript.com, and also you can always get in contact with our support team too directly. So today we're going to talk a little bit about what the current social media creation process looks like. If this may sound similar to some of the workflows that you guys are all currently going through. And then we're going to show how to actually do it quicker by doing a quick Descript demo. And then we're going to open it up for Q&A as well. So this webinar is for any teams or individuals, creators or so, that you already have any form of long form recording, whether that be an interview, a training, a webinar like the ones we're doing right now, and you're not getting enough content from it, or you're only doing one social clip, or you're doing it, but it's taking really long. So if you are here, you're in the right place. So by the end of today, we're hoping you can walk away with a repeatable workflow to turn any of these long form recordings into social clips, not only for different platforms, but quickly too, and also in a global audience. So, I think there's an ambulance in the background if you can hear it.
A little bit.
Aaron was hearing birds earlier, and I was looking forward to that being the background noise, not the ambulance. Okay, so if you and your team already have raw material, you have one webinar, one interview, or one demo, you already have a big piece of content to work with. And this is something that can be reused in so many ways. So there's so much potential to pull from this. And so repurposing from this long form content comes with different workflows. If you have 5 platforms, 5 social clips, that's 5 different workflows that you're repeating often, whether it's for LinkedIn or YouTube Shorts. And then in that process, you have to find the moment, edit for the platform, depending on like the aspect ratio or the type of style of the content you want, captions, how it fits on there, and then you got to translate it if you want to reuse this for like, say, like a paid campaign to reach a global audience. And then you also have a review workflow too with other people in your team. And that often requires lots of hours of like manual like editing and then handoff and then conversations between all of that. So it's becomes just this long process for just creating social clips. And then by the time that it's done, the moment on social media or social platforms could have passed already because you have been working in your workflow and it's just backed up and now you're on to the next one. And it's just this constant kind of go, catch up kind of feeling. And so today we're going to kind of show you how to alleviate that. So Aaron's going to show us a quick demo.
Yeah, and if you're one of the people in the chat, I saw some about really specific questions. Just throw those in there right now. And if there's a time that we're on a similar topic that we can weave it in, we will make sure that we address that and try to bring it up as best we can. But yeah, let's get to it. So this is Descript. I'm going to guess some of us are not familiar with the interface and the product and what it does. So there's a couple different ways to get here. Some of you already have your long form content that Fiona talked about and you've recorded it. It's in Google Drive or on your desktop. And you can absolutely bring that into Descript, but you can also record here as well. What we want to get to is my long form video is in a project. So 2 ways to do that. You can bring in your own. So let's say I did a customer call on Zoom and it's recorded. I can go to upload and pick it from wherever it's saved locally or bring it in from a cloud service and drop it in. Or I can record. So if you're going, I'm doing talking head YouTube, it looked like a lot of the people in the chat said they have a YouTube channel and they're doing long form already and they're trying to get into the short world. You can also just record here, which is what we did for this project. If I wanted to record a clip or add something else, when I go to record, my options are just my camera, which would be this feed, my screen, including my screen and a camera. So if I'm demoing my app that I coded or showing a document or something I'm want to include in addition to the camera angle, you can do audio only, or you can do rooms, which is basically a virtual studio with up to 10 people plus screen sharing. So if you're doing, we have a lot of people that do small group coaching, customer research, live classes, something you want a better quality recording than just Zoom because you're going to get a camera angle from each of those, not just one composite view. That can come into Descript as well. So ultimately, we want a video in here. And then what we see is the transcript on the left, because anything that has spoken content is going to get transcribed into text. This is called the scene editor on this side, which is just the preview of what the video looks like. If it's audio only, we can still turn it into video, but we're mostly talking video content today. And then we won't be using this, but there is a timeline down here. So if you're comfortable with waveforms and blade tools and all of these more advanced features, that exists, but you can also just pull that down and ignore it, which is what we're going to do today. Anything else you think interface wise, Fiona, that in the chat or from your experience we should touch on before we get into how we can start making some clips?
Yeah, can you show where, if you were to create recordings, where would those actually live if you wanted to pull it up in a project like this?
Yeah, so you'll see on the right side, there's this little menu that starts with project and it's a folder. That's going to pull out whatever files you brought in. So you might have screenshots, videos, audio tracks, music, any kind of media that's coming into Descript, you can see here. So this is the actual raw folder. And say you recorded it on a camera, not connected to a computer, you could pull that MP4 in and just drop it in to this project view. You can add more, and anything that goes into this project will show up over here.
Cool. And can you also show, like, if you wanted to create like duplicates of the raw video or so, where would you find that?
Yes. Do you want to see that from the project view or down on the timeline?
I think thinking of the composition drop down.
Gotcha.
That
So
area.
you'll see up here that we have the name of our project and then a slash, and then these are compositions. I think of compositions as bundles of media under the umbrella of the project. So let's use the YouTuber example. You might record talking head and screen share for 30 minutes, whatever your raw recording is going to be. But then when you go to create clips or maybe translate them, you're kind of repurposing from the original media, and then you can have different compositions. So you'll see here, this is the long form raw video, but then we have manual clips that are sort of a different folder underneath that. And then we have clips from Underlord that are a different folder. And that's where you would go to switch between the 5-minute long form video versus the first clip I'm going to post to my Instagram.
Nice. Nice. So it sounds like you can basically do everything in one project where you can separate it with like the full video, long form video, then you hear social clips, and then you have your translations. So that makes everything nice and easy to access.
Yep, exactly. And it's even better if you're collaborating, which we'll show in a little bit. So let's just start with, okay, how do I interact with this? And then if you see questions that pop up, Fiona, feel free to interrupt even mid-sentence and be like, hey, could you show this?
Sure.
So over here on the left side, this is the transcript. And if you want to change the view, you can always hide this. Same with the scene editor. If you just want to focus on the text part, you don't have to have that split pane view. But I'm going to keep it like this. And the transcript is basically a Google Doc or a Word file. The text here is just the transcript of what the speaker is saying in the video, and it's synced together. So my favorite response from people that are new to Descript is they see, oh, you can highlight on the transcript. Wouldn't it be cool if you deleted the words, that it deleted the video and audio of the speaker saying whenever you're ready? And then they see you do that. And it's like, oh yeah, it's all tied together. So one of the fundamental principles of Descript is the transcript is tied to the video and audio, and you don't have to come down in the scary timeline to pull out the video with like a blade tool where you're slicing waveforms. But there's also a lot of the features you'd have in a Google Doc or a Word file you have when you interact with the transcript. So one of the things we talked about is what makes a good clip. If you have a strong opinion on this, would love to see it in the chat. But one of the things that I think about when I'm repurposing clips is, can this stand on its own? Is this an entire idea that someone who doesn't know the full 5-minute video or topic could take that little slice of it and go, oh, I know what they're talking about? When I'm looking for that, I'm always thinking, is there enough context for this to be a standalone clip? And if you want to find these manually, what you can do is drag your cursor over. Let's say these few sentences could stand on their own. And there's a highlighter tool. So if you're a visual person, if you color coded your notes in school or always had like the binder of different colored pens that you carried around, then you will like this. You can just pick a color, and some people have systems where green means something good and red something to think about editing. It's totally up to you. What I would suggest to start is to match the highlights to the speaker's color. So this is green, and the reason I did it green is because you'll notice there's this little label here where it says Tim above the scene thumbnail. Tim is just our speaker. Whereas if Aaron, was in here, I think I'm purple. I like to highlight things that correspond to the speaker's color, just because if you get down in the waveform, that's what you'll see. If you're a person who has multiple speakers in your projects, it's not just you, that's a handy tip. If you're on your own and not editing with a team, do whatever you want with the colors. But let's say I pull the cursor over this clip and say, you know, that's a good looking one. I'm going to make that green. How do I make that a clip? Because I'm looking going, I want it to be vertical. I want to put captions on it. I want to make sure there's no pauses, because I know on Instagram Reels or TikToks, I don't want awkward silences. What we're going to do is this little plus page button right here. When you hover your cursor, it'll say duplicate to, and you can put that as a new composition. That will bring it over to this menu and put it in here. I'm not going to duplicate this one again because I have it right here called clip 1. Another organizational tip for people who are big on digital cleanliness, as our Marcelo likes to call it, you can also duplicate to a folder. So say you have a long form video and you know you're going to make 5 or 10 clips from it. You can also just create a folder in this drop-down menu by hitting the plus new folder and call it clips or Instagram Reels or whatever you're going to use it for. And then you can sort of keep those all in one place and tuck them out of the way or expand them with the toggle arrow. So say I have this green piece of content. I think it'd be a good Instagram Reel. I'm going to go duplicate to, new composition, or folder if you prefer. So this is exactly where I put mine. It's in manual clips V1. Another trick as you're looking through your project for clip-worthy moments is that you don't have to watch it back in 1x speed. If you haven't heard yourself speak, or your guests, you know, whoever the content is, in 2x or 3x speed, you can go down here and say, I just want to speed run this 5-minute video. And here, does that sound like a standalone idea? Is that clip worthy? And then you don't have to play through the whole thing. If it's an hour long, that would take you at least an hour. Just remember, you can adjust that up. I think 2x is plenty fast. I don't usually do 3 because it's so fast you can't tell, but I'll give you a little preview. Hopefully the audio plays.
It's the most powerful. It's the most powerful predictive system. It's the most.
Does that audio come through okay, Fiona?
Oh, yeah. Very quickly.
So, but maybe you go, okay, would this be a good clip? 1.5x, I think, is perfect for scrubbing through a project quickly looking for clips. So we'll play this paragraph at 1.5.
It's the most powerful predictive system on Earth, but it's also a complex, sort of shadowy world. Hardly anybody understands it.
And I go, oh, that might make a good clip. I could drag my cursor over. I'm going to make it green, new composition, and I'll put that in manual clips. Now, what you notice is my screen didn't change. I did get a little pop-up down here saying it's there, but the way I navigate from this composition to the one that I just made is by this drop-down menu and then going to whatever I called it. So you'll see right here, this would be the clip that I just made, and it carries that green highlighting over so I can remember, oh yeah, I picked that out of the project. Any other thoughts or questions on manually creating the clip itself?
Don't think we have any one specific to that, but that's a great way to kind of just go through your whole transcript and just pull areas that could be good clips. and like a first
Yes.
run, essentially.
And, there are other ways to do this. I like highlighting. If you're more of a text-based person than a color coding person, you can use a marker if you use the hashtag key. So Shift 3, and I could say clip 1.
Mm.
That's not going to show up when I play the video, which I'll just play this couple of words.
Data and models. In the last 2 years,
But it just puts a mark on that transcript that maybe there's the topic change or an idea discussed I want to come back to, and you want something more than just a color to
Mhm.
identify that, you can always use the marker, which will show up down here when you hit this little ribbon icon. Those also carry over when you export to YouTube. So if you're someone who's marking chapters in your podcast or your video, you're probably familiar with that idea, but it can be used to help you find clips as well.
Nice.
Okay, should we show what the AI version of this looks like?
Sure. We do have one question about clips so far. About someone is Sean Moscovita is asking, can you link the clips into one though?
So say I have two separate clips, I want to combine them into one clip.
Mm-hmm.
You absolutely can. In fact, let's just do that right now. So let's say the one that I just did is 2 sentences long, but I go back and think, actually, there's something else that might fit. So maybe that sentence would add on to a clip that I already made. I could make a new composition, but what's even easier is I can just copy it. I'm on a Mac, so I'm going to go Command C. And then if I go to the clip that I want to add it to, and I put my cursor at the end here and do Command V, that did not come through, so I'll try it again. But you can definitely take the media from 2 different clips and do that as well. Let's try just using my mouse instead of the shortcut. And you'll see that pastes it in. So one of the cool things, you can even do this across projects. Fiona accidentally had me test this yesterday. I had a clip and a whole different recording in a different Descript project. I hit copy, switched tabs, went to a different project and just hit paste. And it brought over the transcript, the audio, the video, everything. And it just copied right across the clipboard. And I didn't even know that we could do that.
Yeah, that was definitely something I learned yesterday too. And I imagine this is kind of like a document essentially, but now with the other media attached to it. And like, especially if you're creating a social clips, like you want like different parts of it, you're not only limited to like one part of your video. You can Frankenstein it a bit to make it your own. And this is a great way to kind of use that to pull it together.
Yes. Okay, so let's do, what would it look like if I don't want to go through and say, listen on 1.5x, highlight, create new clip to new composition. If you want to, and I do this a lot, we also in the side panel have the AI tools button. And then these are broken down into tools to help you sound good, look good. What we care about here is repurpose, also publish and write. The first one under repurpose, and one of the more popular tools in this whole menu, is the create clips. And basically what that's doing is using Underlord, our little AI assistant that we're not going to go too deep into, to create clips for you. And it's going to work from this same video where I can say, I want 5 clips that are up to 50 seconds. My recommendation when you're using AI to source your clips is to ask for more than you want. So let's say I want 5 that are usable. I'd probably put in 8 or 10. And I would also go a little longer than you want, ideally. So for me on Instagram or TikTok, I might say 30 to 40 seconds is the sweet spot. I might go up to 50 seconds or a minute, knowing I can easily reduce the duration of what it finds. And then you can pick a layout right here, because most of us are going to say, well, I want it to be a vertical video, not horizontal, and I want some captions. It has a pre-filled prompt. This is the one that I use, and it's pretty basic. Just, hey, I need some that fit on social media, go. And then that way you don't have to come up with a prompt. You don't have to set anything up. It's probably better than you if you're new at clipping. If you're someone who does a lot of clipping and you feel like you know what a good clip looks like, I would encourage you to try that on your source media and still do it manually and then compare the results you versus Underlord. For want of time, I'm not going to run that, but you'll see the output that I got when I ran this ahead of time. In a folder, I have these 4 clips right here. And one advantage of doing this with that menu is it comes through already oriented to the portrait, and it has captions with a style. I'll let just a second this play.
Doesn't affect your business, does impact your business.
And I didn't have to set any of that up. So you'll see when we do this manually, there are a few more steps to get to this finished framing and layout. But with Underlord, I can just pick the layout, say, find me 10 clips and go. And then you're going to have to go through and kind of proofread and say, is this one that I want to use? Or is there any editing that's going to be required before I post it? Any questions about the create clips from the AI tools menu?
Yeah, I noticed when you went into the AI clips, there was a layout pack option. Is there other clip layouts available too through that?
Yes, great question. Let's go into that. It's going to pre-recommend one set that looks the same. So you'll see I think this is Helsinki Blueberry Dark, if I recall. It's kind of like the purple blurple color. If you say that's not my style and you click the see more layouts button, these are organized on 3 levels. Gallery is everybody. Descript made them, they're publicly viewable. Private are just for you. And then Drive are if you share projects with other users on your account. So say you have a video editor or a podcast co-host who's also in Descript, then those are shared between you. In the gallery, what I would say is you can just look by color and design. So maybe our speaker, Tim, here is more of a Miami dragon fruit light kind of a person. And when I click in, then I have all these different types of layouts. And usually towards the bottom, there's going to be some multicam. So if you have a show with 2 people or a discussion or an interview with 3, you could pick that. We're going to look for vertical clips, though, which I think are at the bottom. But you can see these are all pre-made. So
Yeah.
let's say this is more his vibe, the pale purple and kind of the highlighter yellow color. I'm not really sure what that is. You could say, hey, Underlord, when you source all of these clips, snap them into that layout and put those colors and those captions. You can also save your own. So if you don't find any you like and you make one manually, you can just save it.
I think that was going to be what my next question is, because someone asked, the real Sandella asked, if you wanted a consistent CTA to be used for all your clips. I'm imagining layouts is a great way to kind of do this, right?
Exactly. Especially if it's on-screen text, subscribe to my channel or sign up for my newsletter, whatever you're trying to push people towards, you could have something that snaps to your screen over the top of your recording, and it'll just be laid out the same every time you find that layout.
Mm-hmm. And you can have multiple layouts.
Yes, even within a clip. If we want to get into adding scenes and then having that layout or the media arrangement move, absolutely you can.
Cool.
All right, should we get into what do I do once I have the clip in the composition?
Let's do it.
So the first thing I want to point out, even if it's a solo operator, find a way to organize your clips in your project. Most of us who've had digital lives or our jobs are mostly on computers know the importance of naming conventions or knowing what folder, but have some sort of a system that makes sense to you. What I like to do is I just color code things and I do red, yellow, green, traffic light. So red to me is there's something wrong with it or I'm not using it. Yellow is I need to work on it or I'm fixing it. And green is it's already been shipped. So one of the things that'll happen is you'll say, wait, did I ever post that clip from my podcast? in my organization system, a green dot means yes. If you're working with someone else, that also makes sure they know that you already shipped that clip without them having to message you and say, hey, did clip number 4 ever go out on our Instagram, or having to scroll back and find it? So whatever works for you, you can put hashtags in there. I like to put the little construction emoji when I first make them. And that means I haven't even looked at it yet. It's a work in progress.
We had
But
a quick question, Aaron.
Yeah.
How do you add the color codes in there? Is it just an emoji icon, essentially? Nice.
Yep. So in this menu, there's a lot of ways to do all of this. You can rename the clip. So let's say that's not actually one that I want to kill, and I just posted it. I'm going to use my little emoji keyboard. I don't think you can see, but copy and paste it in, or use your shortcut to do the emoji. And then when I click off of that, it should save. The other way is at the top, whatever you named it will show up here. Just like you could add text to it, you could change or remove the emoji, and it just auto saves. So if emoji doesn't work for you and you have a better system, I'd love to know what that is in the chat, because I probably use this as much as anybody. But it works for me. It's something I started doing a couple of years ago when I was working in a team, and it saved us a bunch of Slack messages and a bunch of time.
No more V1, V2, V3, V final V1, V final V2.
I know I saw some real video editors in the chat. I opened the projects that, on our team, that's Ramdy or Adrian, who are amazing at what they do. But yeah, the naming convention is wild. And why do people put V1 at the end? I'm not trying to offend anybody, but put V1 at the beginning, because sometimes those get cut off and the name of their project is 8 words long.
Totally. Yeah. I feel like we can do a whole nother webinar around just naming conventions, organizing, and digital hygiene. Is that what we're calling it?
Yeah, I think Marcelo's trying to copyright digital cleanliness. Maybe digital hygiene. You're right. Okay, so here's my clip in my composition, but it doesn't look like I want it to look on Instagram. How can I get there? These are manual ones, so there's a few more steps than Underlord, but you'll notice up here at the top, there's the little screen layout icon. And if I hover my mouse, it tells me this is where I can change the aspect ratio. You don't need to know the numbers for most people. It's phone sideways, phone up and down. Maybe some uses for square, but usually when we're clipping, we're going to go vertical. So you'll notice when I click the 9:16, it changes the layout. And now I have a new problem. Okay, it's on the Instagram looking frame, but there's a bunch of black space and I don't want that. So there's a couple ways you can do this. And the easiest one is just take your piece of media and you can drag it around in the scene editor. And let's do it the simplest way I know how. We can also drag to expand this until it fits the frame. Now, if that's not perfect, say I want to move the speaker's head up a little bit and zoom in a little bit more. You can make this go off of the canvas. So you'll notice the little purple boundary line will move around here. There we go. So say I actually want it framed like this, and then we'll fit the bottom. You can also go into crop mode. So if I want to zoom in and kind of change which part of this we're focused on, let's say I want extreme zoom, but see how it cuts off his head? That's no good. I can switch to this little crop, and now I'm dragging it without making it bigger. So say with a notch on an iPhone, I'm usually going to want to leave some space at the top. It's a pretty tight zoom, but that looks a lot better than when it came in 16:9 and had the black space at the top and the bottom. And then I can just hit done and go, okay, I'm framing my shot. That looks like I would want my TikTok, Instagram style video. No black space at the top and the bottom, basically. Another way, if you don't want to have to do that manually, there is this shape button, and you can choose portrait. I'm going to put it back to 100. And you can also say, fill the scene fit the scene, or if you want to align it to a certain side, you can do that. So maybe something like this to go a little bit more to fill. So there's other ways to do that, but the most simple way is just drag it and then crop it until you frame the shot. A big thing with your vertical reels is make sure, let's say this is going to YouTube Shorts. I want to leave space at the top for an overlay, maybe a notch, but then down here, I always think of a horseshoe shape from the sides to the bottom. This is probably going to be covered with things like the name of the video, the copy that went along with it, the like button, the little logo of my channel. So anything I put down here in this horseshoe pattern is probably going to end up being covered. So those are just the safe zones. You can throw a template on there if you really want to know how will this look on TikTok or YouTube Shorts. But in general, the top, quarter to fifth of the frame is going to be covered, and then a horseshoe from here down a U shape is going to be covered as well. Would you say the framing looks okay, like Instagram reel worthy?
Yeah, I was just thinking safe zones. It's right in the safe zones.
That's what we want. Yep.
Yeah. I feel like if you really want to go the extra mile, you could probably create a pre-layout that you can use to kind of just make sure it aligns, take the thinking out too, but that's if you want to go extra. What I would probably do. So,
Yes.
yeah.
Yes. Okay. So the other big thing that we're missing is I know I want captions, and I'm not sure if you had an exact statistic, but Fiona and I were just talking about how many people watch social media videos without the sound on.
Mhm.
This is going to do them no good to hear our speaker, Tim, talking
What doesn't affect your business?
without seeing the words pop up. So the way we're going to do that is on the same menu over here. We have an entire set of menus for our captions. We're just going to work in one scene, which is the default. But if you want to switch the layout or have media come on and off or cut to a different speaker and you're a little more complicated than we are today, you could have your captions just apply to a single scene, but this is all one scene for now. Let's pick one. What do you like? Do you like the little waveform at the bottom? Do you like the slanted? Do you like the round waveform behind it?
I like the waveform with the audio because that would work for podcasts too. And I've been thinking all about podcasts this past week. So
Okay, so let's go with this one as a default.
yeah.
Okay, great. One of the things we're going to think about is in the safe zone, I don't want the words to be down here. A thing that I always try to do is if you're framing a normal talking head style shot. So this isn't someone like running on a beach or a drone angle. This is like a selfie camera video. Is you usually want to put the captions under their chin, like somewhere around here. And covering up the mic is okay, but obviously we don't want it on his face. If it's framed really funky and you have to move it up, you could put it above his head, but I think this would actually work perfect to go right there. And then the waveform is an interesting one. I think it's unique. It's not a big deal if that gets covered by safe zones. I think it looks really good when you put it on the bottom of the frame, and it's okay if the like button or your channel icon covers it up. I just think it's kind of distracting to have up here above the safe zones. So I'm going to leave it down there. Now let's just let that play. And without manually tweaking anything, we're just adding captions from the side menu to our whole clip.
What doesn't affect your business does impact your business.
But let's say that's not really Tim's color. What would you say Tim's color is, whether based on his brand or the background, his personal brand?
I'm thinking like, what's the complement to blue? So like orange to make it pop.
Okay, we can go orange.
Or we could go with blue just to make it match with the background too.
Yeah, so this whole menu of possibilities opens up to us. Let's just go to custom, because I think this is a little easier way to see. There are lots of levers you can pull on your captions. Now, you don't have to do any of this. You might say the pre-made one that you drug on is good enough for you. Feel free to not tweak it. But you can do the fill. So let's use different colors just so people can see. These are the words before they're spoken. You can also put a border on them. One little trick I like to do with your captions is if you want a border, it does make it a little more readable. Change the thickness of your border from the pre and the future words and make it lower than the active. So I'll show you the difference. Let's put the
Your business.
right there. He's saying the word your. So I'm actually going to make that a little bit thicker, and that should be orange. And then we'll make this a little bit lighter and make it the same sort of pale purple. So you'll notice there's still a border between these, but as he says these three words, another way to emphasize them besides the orange color that stands out is a little bit thicker border on those.
Your business. A drought on another continent,
And then say with the waveform, you go, oh, well, I don't want that just to be white. Let's make that the lilac purple color. And now it all
conflict halfway around the world, a policy change in an industry you don't do business with.
kind of ties it together, especially if you have a brand, maybe your YouTube channel has certain colors in the logo. You can go crazy customizing these as much as you want.
And then save it as a layout and just reuse it.
Yeah. So here's what a lot of people think, man, that was a lot of work to get things framed how I want to. But the cool thing is I have all these other clips I haven't put the layout on. What if I just want them to look like this? Within a project, I can right click and copy layout from this little thumbnail button. And then say I go to one that I'm working on that's formatted really, there we go. That looks like the raw file. And it took me 5 minutes to reframe and zoom and change captions. Well, let's just go to portrait. And then on this same preview, I'm going to click on there and hit paste layout.
Nice.
Lo and behold, I have my exact captions, even the colors customized, the waveform.
The reinsurance world is built.
And it's framed exactly the same. That's really handy for 5 or 10 clips from this project. But even better than that, what if I have a new recording next week and I don't want to come copy and paste from here? That's where when I click on this piece of media in the properties menu, I have layouts. So instead of I went and found one that I liked, we made our own, I can save this as a new layout. And I could call it something like podcast clips. I'm going to call it lilac. Hopefully I spelled that right. And then the type is just to make it organized. So it's not going to change how it looks, but think, what category would I put this in? For me, this would definitely be a clip. And then I can put it in a layout pack that I already have, or I can make a new one. So what you'll find, let's say this is from a recurring podcast I have once a week, and my brand colors haven't changed, and the speaker and the source files are all the same. It's just every week I have a new project. I would just have a layout pack called My Business Podcast 101. And then when you want to go clip it, this one is saved, and you can just apply it across all of your clips without having to drag and drop anything.
Yeah, I feel like layout is basically going to be your kind of golden ticket to work so much quicker because you don't have to redo everything. You kind of set it and then you can just click it, and now it's like populating for you. Sharon Felschow 1097 actually had a question similar to layouts too. Can you set up a template or layout to have text auto-populate like a speaker name? That's similar to the captions layout, right?
Yes, you can. The way that you would get that is in the side menu over here. We'd go to elements, and you can do dynamic text. So since we labeled our speaker in here as Tim, it knows anytime Tim is talking in the transcript, that's the speaker. If I just click speaker right here, I notice how I didn't have to type in Tim. I could have that be one of the pieces of media associated. So maybe it's a podcast or a recording with multiple speakers. as long as you assigned the speaker name in the transcript, it would know when Tim is talking versus when Aaron is talking. And you could set that up one time to be your brand colors and your favorite font or whatever. And then that can be part of your layout as well. You can also do any of your markers will show up here, a composition name. So say there's a topic he's talking about, and instead of saying, watch my clip 3, maybe you wanted to say business advice for insurance. When I click this composition button in the elements menu, it auto pulls that. So you can even start tying some of these together. I have the dynamic speaker name text automatically added, and then I have the composition name added as well. So that way I don't have to go in and change the text. You could do it just by dragging on a placeholder where it says subtitle, and I could say Refire. That's the fictional company he's talking about. But yes, that is a great question. That's where these come in. And you can even do a timer. So some people like the idea. I know a lot of YouTubers do this. Like, how long is this segment going to last? Maybe I don't like the waveform. I could do a timer, and it's like, how long is this talk going to go on? Or I can do progress. So this is another cool one. What percent of the clip, kind of like a loading bar.
The reinsurance world is built on understanding, predicting, and managing risk on a global level.
And then again, you go, well, it's not my brand color, so I'll make it this. All of those things can now be saved as a new layout. I name it and just make sure I keep track of where it is. And that can be applied to any clip I make from my account forever. And then if you change it, maybe Tim leaves your podcast and now it's somebody else, just go back and save that layout over the previous one, or save it as a new one and change the name.
Nice.
Yeah. Any other questions before we look at translation?
Annika Duncan 1987 is asking, what if it's an action clip without audio? How would these layouts work?
Yeah. If there is no audio, you have a couple of options. One that's probably the most simple is you can add a voiceover. So say I just have a video of the beach and it's a drone shot and there's no sound whatsoever. I can record myself narrating, hire my drone company to take cinematic videos like this. Here's the beach in Santa Monica on a beautiful day in March. And then in my project, how Fiona had us look at where all those files live, I could bring in my speech or record it in Descript, and I could actually drop that on here. So we're not going to edit with the timeline. If anybody's blood pressure went up, I apologize. But any of the media that I've been adding here also gets put on the timeline in layers. So if you're a video audio editor, you're very familiar with this idea, but it's kind of like this one is on the very top. So if I end up covering something, that shows over the captions because captions are on the bottom. You could add you speaking as a layer. You could also add some stock media and go to audio and say, maybe I want summertime, like a beat. Because you don't have to have spoken words on your social media clips. It could just be text popping up on screen and a cool summertime vibe playing with your drone footage. And you can just click right here to add that. And then you could also do cutaway to B-roll. You could add things on screen, whether that's text or a CTA or maybe the location of where your video is shot. And you'll see as I drag this up further, now I have audio playing in the background. So really, here's what I would tell you. Find a creator who already makes clips like you do, even if they're in a different niche. Say it's, faceless and they're not talking head. What's coming on screen besides their video, and how do they make that engaging on the social platform? And then just reverse engineer that and say they have scrolling text. Okay, then I'm going to come in and I'm going to add my own text to a project, or say it's a voiceover. If you don't even want to speak, you can do AI voiceover and use an avatar to narrate if you want to do that as well. I'm going to tuck the timeline back out of the way. Any other caption layout type questions?
Let's see. I think that's it for captions related.
Okay. And we'll have time at the end. Let's look at translations. What if Tim is speaking English, but I have an audience, or even internally at my company, we're doing trainings or promotional material, and Tim does not speak any other languages? What we can do with a clip, this was created just like the first one, is we can go into AI tools, and then we can go down under the repurpose. Besides creating clips, you can also translate. And a lot of people think, okay, so it's just going to translate the captions into Chinese or Spanish or something. It can do that. There's a whole list of, I think, around 50 languages. There's a really nice Help Center article that lists all of these, because people have very specific questions in the chat whenever we show this. But you can refer to that if the link is available. And you can pick multiple. So you might come in and say, these are the 3 that I'm speaking to, which is a very diverse audience. And then you have the option to match the timing or the direct translation. So say the language I'm going into takes more syllables to express the same idea that our speaker is. If you want it to be as accurate as possible, the time that he's saying that clip is going to get extended. Usually for socials, you're going to want to match the timing and say it in about the same span of time, as close to of a translation as you can get. And then you can pick, do you want to dub his speech? In other words, not just changing the caption language, but the audio that's coming out. And if you want to, you can even lip sync the video to the newly dubbed language that he's speaking. So when you go to do this, let's say we're going to match timing, and we're going to let that run in the background. But I've already done this with a couple, because I've always wondered, what would Tim sound like speaking Chinese? So it's not getting rid of the original recording. It's basically making new compositions of that composition. And you'll notice it didn't just translate the audio, but here's what I get when that's done.
相关模型在最近的2年里，我开发了 Refire 一款利用在保险数据的预测性软件。
His lips are actually matching the language that the audio has been translated to. And then if I had a speaker name or the date as one of those placeholders, it'll translate any of the text that's on the screen. And you could say, now, I thought 3 of the most common ones would probably be Chinese, French, and Spanish. Same clip.
J'ai passé les 30 dernières années à étudier des données et des modèles de réassurance.
There's Tim also doing the same clip for my French-speaking audience on TikTok. And then we have a couple versions of Spanish. This is the Latin American version.
He pasado los últimos 30 años observando.
Which it looks like had an error.
Ahora, quiero ayudarte a ver lo que veo yo en el mercado global de reaseguros.
I'm impressed at how well that trills his R's. And you also get the transcription, so you can see, maybe I'm a native Spanish speaker, and I want to make sure those words are what I think they should be translated to. But then for everybody, whether you're translating or not, cool, I have a clip, but it's in Descript and it's not on YouTube Shorts. How do I get it there? That's what the export menu is for. And for you audio-only people, you can do audio clips, but we're doing video today. And it's going to tell you, do you want to save that to your local device, a bunch of places that you can pass it through without having to download? YouTubers, if you're doing long form YouTube, this is awesome because you don't have to download the video to your device, then go to YouTube Studio and then re-upload it. You can just pass it straight to YouTube and it saves you time and storage space. We're going to go local, and then I can pick the resolution. If you're clipping for socials, they're all going to get compressed down to 1080p anyways. So unless you're doing something yourself or you're on a website that you know it'll play in a higher resolution, usually 1080p is going to be fine. This is for the quality, it's just what size your file is going to be. So say you can only upload so many megabytes of file to wherever you're posting it. You can look at that if you care. And then another fun trick is if you have a short clip, especially without audio, you can actually do it as a GIF. This would not make a very good GIF because it's a talking head video. And then you can say, I want to export multiple versions. So it's really cool. In one button, I can say I want the original English, the Chinese, the French, and the Spanish, all locally exported in 1080p. Now it's got to render those, and it's going to take probably a minute or two. But now I'm going to have all of those on my device. If you are not translating, you just wouldn't have to mess with this menu, and you would have the one at the bottom and just hit export the same. Any export or translation questions before we just go Q&A, Fiona?
I think you answered the one about exporting to YouTube too, so not any new ones. So yeah, we could jump into Q&A. I think one that we had earlier around multi-speakers. Let's see. How do we kind of make like jump from one speaker to another?
Yeah, there's two ways to do it, I think. Let's go with really simple. One is to just frame your shot where you're going to have both of them on screen. And then the other one is to do cutaways. If it's, let's say, a 30-second clip and you have two speakers, but you want to show we're on a podcast, the host asks a question, the guest answers, and that's most of the content. I would put the person less focused on the bottom of the frame as a square, and then the person who does most of the talking at the top. If you want to be fancy, you can put scenes in there and say the speaker gets moved to the top. So if it's a back, forth discussion style clip, you could just say whoever's talking gets moved here, and you just have two different layouts. If it's, do we want to show the stacking two different layers if you have one file but it has two speakers on it, or is that not something we want to get into?
I think because of time, we'll save that, but we can definitely go over that in our next webinar with social clips too. We have another question around exporting. Can you share a link from the export for approval, or how do you do that, I guess?
Yeah, that's awesome. So let's take one of the translated ones. So say at my company, I am not qualified to check off on the French translation, and somebody needs to see that. When I go to export, it's a pain to download the clip, put it in Google Drive or Dropbox, and then send it to somebody to check off. Instead of local export, you can do a web link. So just like a lot of people would do with a Loom video, hey, I want to show you a quick recording. You can get your own web link just to this clip, not to the whole project. And then you can set the permission. So I only want people at my company to see would be Drive. And then I only want specific people with this email to see would be project access. But let's say it's anybody with the link. I'm just going to click publish. And that's going to put it on the web. You can still download it, but that way I don't have to take a file and pass it back and forth. I can just take this link, open Slack, and say, hey, want to take a look at the French translation and change the construction emoji to green if it's good, or thumbs up the message if it's good. And now they can just watch from that URL instead of downloading a file.
Nice. Yeah, that's going to save a lot of time because downloading can take a long time, especially if you have multiple clips and they're translated. So that will save that part of the workflow when you're getting folks to review, which can take a long time sometimes. So cool. Cool. I think that's about it. We're about time. Thank you so much for sharing that with us, Aaron. There is so much that we went over and so much that I learned too. So appreciate that. Just gonna wrap us up really quick. Is there anything else you wanted to share at all, Aaron, or anything you wanted to recap?
Yeah, I agree with you. I appreciate the opportunity. I was just seeing the great collaboration zeros comment on YouTube. While we don't have time to show, I have a demo clip of exactly that. The question is if I have a Zoom single file recording and it's, say, Fiona and I side by side, and I want to go to TikTok, but I only have one file, I will make sure that our YouTube channel posts a video on how to do that this week, and then you can check back Great Collaboration Zero, and that will show you exactly how to do it.
Yeah, let's do that. I feel like that's a very common use case that a lot of folks would probably benefit from learning. So we'll definitely get that out to you guys. Cool. Thank you, everyone, for all your questions, and thanks so much for tuning in. Just a couple outro things for us to check off. We would love your feedback, so feel free to scan the QR code up in the corner. It's just 2 questions, 3 questions at most, I think is what we're saying, just to hear what your thoughts are. If you wanted us to go deeper in certain areas, we definitely take into account all the questions you guys ask and use it to improve our webinars for the future too. So we do have our weekly webinar, so you'll see different things pop up too every time you tune in. If you wanted to learn more, we always have our videos on YouTube, or if you're in the app, there's a Learn Descript menu too. And you can also join our support team weekly on Tuesdays at 11 a.m. PST on YouTube. They're hanging out, answering questions in real time, so you can bring your projects and anything that you're having trouble with. And we also have a community space on Discord. And they also have office hours as well on Wednesdays at 1 p.m. So we're available all week for you guys. And next week's webinar is going to be around marketing messaging. Matthew, our product marketing manager, is going to show us a really cool AI workflow and how he uses it to improve messaging for our marketing videos. And if you are ready to get started, if you are part of a big, broader enterprise team, feel free to scan the QR code on the slide to book a demo with one of our experts to really show you how to create the videos that you need for your team. So again, thank you so much everyone for joining. Thank you, Aaron, again for showing us everything, and we hope to catch everyone soon again.
Yeah, thank you, Fiona. It was fun. And if you have content you want us to use for a webinar, like clip your YouTube channel, send us a DM on your favorite social channel, and we will get in touch about using your content. We'll do all the work for you.
Yes, thank you so much for mentioning that. We have a form for collabs if you're interested in us doing, like Aaron said, doing the work for you, or even having us do the full webinar project to kind of showcase what you're working on and how what we can share. Feel free to enter that form, brain fart, and we'll go from there. Cool. All right, thanks everyone. Bye.